Alright boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Twin Engine Starlet. It's been 12 days since our last post and we have done absolutely nothing. So we have less than 1 week to put everything together. But I just want to show you guys something real quick. Nick and I have just got back from Malaysia and we've come back with a whole heap of parts. We got the Camp Dogs VR coil pack adapters for the 4EFTE engines. We have 20 of those in stock and we've got a whole heap of fuel rails, distributor cap covers, billet intake manifold flanges. We have a couple of billet intake manifolds in stock. Billet rocker cover. Comes in red. Also comes in the raw finish. So with all these new parts in stock, we'd like to give a shout out to Ross Performance Balancers down in Victoria. They're today's video sponsor. So if you need a high quality performance balancer for your 4E engine or any engine in that matter, jump onto this website below, Ross Performance Balancers. Go and check them out. Or you can send them an email if you have any inquiries. And if you jump onto the Camp Dog store today and type in Ross10, you're going to get 10% off everything in the store, but for today only. So it's been at least 12 days. Nick's still away. The blue car is still on the hoist. We do have the engine and gearbox back in, but I haven't started any of the wiring whatsoever. So I've got the loom here. It's a 5-meter Haltech 1500 Elite loom. Now for racing next weekend, pretty much I need to get coils, injectors, the distributor, the pressure and temp sensors, and the GPS hooked up. That'll be about it, and I can just tuck everything else out of the way for now. As long as we get that sorted, we're going racing next weekend and it's going to happen. And the next step now is just get it in the car and start working out where everything's going to go. Alright, let's see, push this out of the way. First of all, I've ripped the seat out. We're going to have the ECU and the fuse box sitting somewhere here on the floor, and I've gone and punched a hole saw in the panel there. And we can have the wiring line poke out here somewhere, go straight under that fan, and then it'll pop out on the side of the gearbox there, run up the bell housing, and go to where it needs to go there. Alright guys, we're a few hours in. The loom has been in the car, everything's cut to length. Now I'm ready to put all the sheathing on there. I've got a few wires that are coming back through here. This is pretty much the rolling anti-lag, the flat change, and the wire to turn the ECU on. So the coils and the injectors here, the big grey one there is for distributor, and everything else there. Sometime tonight, this could be ready to go back in the car and fire up. Nick gets back tomorrow from Sydney. We're pretty close, so we're going to keep pushing and see where we end up. So the loom is going to be pretty much ready to go back in the vehicle today. We're going to have to get those electrical connectors next week, but as long as we can get the loom back in the car, then we can get all the mechanical stuff done, putting the sump on, putting the intercooler back on, and whatever other parts we need to put back on the engine. So at the end of today, if not tomorrow, the car's going to be pretty close to be able to start, and racing next weekend is looking pretty good at this point. We decided to change the fuel pressure regulator and we have a new TurboSmart FPR 800. It also comes with a -6 fitting kit, and we have some Loctite 577 sealant. That way you can just put a bit of goop on there and you don't need to over tighten the fittings. Along with that, we want to run this Bosch pressure and temp sensor, but for that we need an adapter. So this is an 8 NPT thread, which then goes to an M10 by 1mm thread. So with a bit of goop on there like that, we can just nip it up and make sure we don't have any leaks. The wiring loom's pretty much done and we're ready to put the sump on. We use ultra black silicon. It's meant to be an oil resistant silicon. If you use the orange stuff, which is meant for exhaust, it just goes like a sort of spongy, gooey consistency after a while and ends up leaking. But this black stuff, or ultra grey, is actually really good. Alright, oil pickups on, pressure reliefs on. You do not want to forget those. So have a look at the goop coming out.
If you have a bit squeezed out, do you normally run your finger along it, or do you just leave it?
It's good to check now. If it's gooping out, then you know that you haven't missed any areas.
Yep. Yep.
It always gets stung. I don't put enough in the corners here. Oh, I've been stung a few times.
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head.
Okay. Just coming along, mate. Alright boys, we're flying ahead with process. Twin engine Starlet is off the hoist. We've got the new loom in there, the engine's all in there. I've just double checked the valve clearances. I had to change a couple of shims, so we had to wait for those to arrive. We've welded up the cracks in the intake manifold. Pretty much ready now, we can put the rocker cover on. Something like that. We've got a couple of wires at this end to put on. Vacuum line from the ECU over to the intake manifold. Then, top radiator hose, intercooler pipe. I've got to put a little weld on for the air temp sensor for the intercooler pipe, but that's pretty much it. We're going to start her up tonight. Ready? Alright. So first fire up was a fail. What's happened, Nick?
I think we were just, because we're using one of the shielded cores for cam and crank, we need to flick the wires around a bit, and we just used the wrong core at this end, so we just flipped them around. So hopefully she's gonna fire up.
All right, boys, we're on. We're going racing. Need to give the fuel system a good clean out tomorrow. Put the seat in. Give it a wash. A few touch-ups. We're going Friday night. It's on. Doing pretty good for time. It's Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we're not actually leading up to the night before.
I didn't think we'd get it started today.
No, it actually fired up pretty easy. Anyway, we'll cut her off there and you'll get the update shortly when we go to the drags. See you next time.